I let my sister stay in my $940,000 lakeside home, paid $2,800 in bills, babysat her kids for free. At her birthday, she said, "He's been dead inside since Fallujah," then toasted to the new owner. That night, I found her forged deed. I whispered, "Ballsy." By morning, every account, every login, gone. Sent to legal. Next day, she found a document on the door. Let's just say, it wasn't a note. You ever have one of those slow-burning headaches that starts somewhere behind your eyes and just sets up shop there for days? That's what living with Claire felt like. My name's Damien. I'm 42 years old and live out in Lake Oconee, Georgia, in a quiet little property I bought after I retired from the Army. 20 years and 6 of them as a combat medic, and when I got out, all I wanted was stillness, peace. But then Claire happened. Claire is my little sister, 33, recently divorced, mother of 2 boys who can't sit still for more than 2 minutes. When her marriage crashed and burned last summer, I didn't even think about it. I told her, "Come stay with me. Bring the kids. You need space to figure things out." I meant it. I really did. She showed up 3 days later with 2 suitcases, 2 kids, and a look on her face like she'd just survived a war. I thought I was doing the right thing. At first, it was manageable. I picked up a part-time gig teaching emergency trauma response at the local paramedic academy, worked 3 days a week, left the rest of my time open for fishing, books, and sleep. Claire said she just needed a couple months to regroup. I nodded and said sure. Then the grocery bills tripled. The laundry never stopped. The Wi-Fi slowed to a crawl. And every time I walked into the kitchen, Claire was standing there with her tablet, sighing dramatically over therapy schedules or custody issues. I paid for it all without blinking: her sessions, her meds, school supplies, new shoes for the boys. "It's just temporary," she'd say. "This is helping me find peace." Yeah, her peace. Meanwhile, I was running Zoom lectures with a kid screaming over Roblox in the background and using my lunch breaks to make mac and cheese for 2 gremlins who called me Uncle D like it was a curse. I babysat more than I taught. Every time Claire had a phone consult or a self-care appointment, I was on deck. Didn't matter if I just pulled an overnight simulation shift or was 3 hours into grading exams. I was the one wiping peanut butter off the walls. And the thing is, she started acting like this was her house. I was thinking of repainting the living room, she said one morning, like we shared the mortgage. Then another time, "I moved your books off the sunroom shelf, thought it looked cleaner without all the clutter." My favorite was the throwaway comment she made to one of her friends on speakerphone. "Yeah, we're living at the lake house now. It's got great light." The lake house. Like she picked it out of a catalog. Like it wasn't my name on every damn piece of paperwork. Claire didn't say thank you. She said things like, "That's what family's for," and "You'd do the same for me." But I wouldn't. I never would have crossed the line like that. The line she was starting to pretend didn't exist. Claire's birthday fell on a Saturday, and against my better judgment, I offered to host a small get-together. Nothing major, just a few family members, some neighbors, a cooler full of beer, and a barbecue on the back deck. I figured a few hours of forced smiles and grilled chicken was a small price to pay to keep the peace. She turned it into an event. By noon, the yard was filled with people I didn't recognize. Claire's coworkers from her therapy group, her yoga instructor, the kid's friend's mom, hell, even our cousin Rachel, who hadn't spoken to me since I skipped her wedding in Vegas. I stood by the grill flipping burgers like a dad in a sitcom while Claire floated from guest to guest in a sundress she'd bought with my credit card. My dad showed up halfway through, beer in hand, acting like he owned the place. Claire gave him a big dramatic hug in front of everyone, then steered him toward a group of women near the fire pit like she was introducing royalty. I stayed behind the grill, sipping beer and watching it all unfold. My house, my deck, my lawn furniture, but Claire was the one shining. As the sun started to dip, someone brought out a cake. It had her name in swirly pink frosting. I didn't get a slice. I was too busy trying to keep the youngest nephew from launching a lawn dart into someone's eye. Then came the toast. She tapped her glass with a fork. Ding, ding, ding. Everyone quieted down. Claire stood at the center of the deck, beaming like it was her wedding day. "I just want to say thank you," she began, swaying slightly. "This past year has been tough, but it taught me who my real family is. I didn't like where this was going. I've grown so much, healed so much, and it's all because of the people who stood by me." Polite applause. My cousin Rachel actually teared up. "And of course, my big brother Damien," she added, turning toward me. "He's been, well, Damien's been dead inside since Fallujah, but at least he's consistent." The deck erupted with laughter. Even my dad chuckled, nodding like it was a good line, like it was funny. I stood there frozen, spatula in hand, trying to process what I just heard. She weaponized the darkest part of my life, reduced it to a punchline. Claire wasn't done. But seriously, she said, raising her glass again. Let's toast to new beginnings, new energy, and to the future owner of this beautiful house. Everyone laughed again. Glasses clinked. A few people even looked around like she might be making some kind of announcement. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. Because I already knew. I'd found the fake property transfer form 2 weeks ago, left half-tucked into the printer tray like she forgot to hide it. My name was on it, but the signature wasn't mine. And I'd heard the voice memo she accidentally saved to my cloud account. Her doing a weird imitation of me, talking to my lawyer, practicing, preparing. She thought she was clever. She thought I hadn't noticed. I walked up beside her, leaned in close, and whispered just loud enough for her to hear, "Ballsy." Then I smiled, set the spatula down, and walked back inside. The first thing I did after everyone left was throw away the half-eaten birthday cake. Not just toss it. Scoop it straight into the trash with a plastic serving plate and all, like it was infected. I didn't even bother covering it up. That night, I sat on the couch in the dark with a beer sweating in my hand. Staring at the glow from the baby monitor Claire insisted on keeping in the living room, just in case the boys get up. As if she ever got up. It was always me. At dawn, I got to work. No confrontation, no screaming match, just execution. I walked into my office, locked the door, and pulled the flash drive from the old metal box under my desk. Army issue. Thumb-sized. Encrypted. The kind of thing most people forget exists until they really need it. I plugged it in, entered the passcode, and started the sweep. First, utilities. I logged into every account, water, gas, internet, power, and changed the passwords. Removed Claire's name and her backup email. Shut off access to the autopay card she used for groceries, because it's just easier that way. Then I moved to the smart systems. The door locks, the thermostat, the garage opener, even the speakers. All of it linked through a central hub I'd set up myself. I revoked every profile that wasn't mine. Claire's phone was no longer paired. Her voice wouldn't do a damn thing now. Amazon account? Logged out on every device. Streaming services? Logged out. The shared grocery list we used? Deleted. Bank access? Gone. The kids' joint savings account I helped set up for her? Locked until further review. All of it. Scrubbed. By the time the sun cleared the treetops, I had covered every inch of digital ground. Claire's fingerprints were wiped clean from my life, like she'd never been here at all. I printed the letter last. Thick paper, certified delivery format. The kind lawyers use. No explanation inside, just the paperwork. I walked to the front door, placed it neatly in the middle of the welcome mat, and closed the door behind me. Locked it. Heard the solid click of the deadbolt she couldn't control anymore. Inside, I made coffee. Outside, the world stirred. At 8:14 a.m., I heard the usual shuffle of Claire's slippers across the hallway. Then came the jangle of her keys. The front door didn't budge. She tried again. Click. Nothing. Damien. Her voice was thin. She pulled out her phone. I watched it all on the security cam from the kitchen screen. She tapped the app for the smart lock. No response. Tapped again. Again. Then I saw her expression shift. That moment when confusion turns into realization. She stared down at the envelope, crouched to pick it up, opened it, and froze. Claire's world had just shrunk to zero. And mine? Mine was finally expanding. Claire's birthday brunch part 2 took place the following weekend, this time at a rented lakefront deck with fake candles and charcuterie boards she absolutely couldn't afford on her own. She wore a sundress again, same shade, different pattern, and that same air of untouchable serenity like she was royalty and the rest of us were just villagers lucky to be invited. I hadn't RSVP'd. I wasn't supposed to show, but I did. She was mid-laugh when I stepped onto the deck, a soft, high laugh she used when she was trying to sound delicate. A few people turned when they saw me, Rachel stiffened, and my dad set down his beer like he suddenly remembered he had a son. Claire caught sight of me and blinked, like she wasn't sure if I was real. I walked calmly to the center of the deck, unzipped the black binder I carried under one arm, and dropped it on the table right in front of her charcuterie board. Thud. "What is this?" she asked, trying to sound annoyed, not rattled. I didn't say anything. She opened it. On top was a screenshot of a fake real estate listing, my house, doctored to look like it was for sale under her name. Below that, forged documents with shaky signatures, mine supposedly, authorizing transfer of ownership. Then emails. Then a transcript of the voice memo she recorded, trying to mimic my voice. She laughed too fast. "Are you serious with this?" But her eyes said something else. Her hand hovered too long over the binder. Her smile was all teeth now, no warmth. "It's insane," she added, turning to the guest like she was in on a joke I hadn't told yet. "I mean, Damien, come on." That's when Aaron stepped forward. Aaron was a guy no one here knew. Tall, dark polo shirt, calm expression. He looked like a casual +1, but he wasn't. "Hi," he said smoothly. "My name is Aaron Cobb. I'm a cybersecurity contractor. I served with Damien in the 144th. That got people's attention. A few guests straightened up. Claire frowned. "Claire, I spent the last 4 days analyzing every file on your devices, legally, through accounts you accessed on Damien's home systems. And what I found is disturbing." He placed a flash drive next to the binder. "This contains recordings of your voice modification attempts, metadata proving you edited legal documents using PDFs on Damien's printer, and chat transcripts where you attempted to impersonate him in conversation with a legal assistant at Brimmer and Trent." Claire's face drained of color. "This is ridiculous," she said again, voice higher now. "He's making this up." Aaron didn't flinch. "You also used the same tactics to try and manipulate 2 other individuals, a former landlord and a debt recovery agent. We have documentation of both. Cross-referenced, verified. You left a digital footprint." People weren't laughing anymore. Even Rachel had stopped sipping her drink. I stepped forward. "You all saw me as the cold one," I said quietly. "The distant brother. The boring guy with no emotional range." I looked at my dad. "You said it was just stress when she mocked my PTSD. You laughed." He didn't meet my eyes. "Claire was never the victim," I continued. "She was the architect. And now, every person who's ever told me to just keep the peace, you get to sit with this." The table was silent. Claire's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her wine glass. It knocked against the plate. A loud clink. Aaron leaned in one last time, his voice steady. "By the way," he said, "the county clerk has already been notified." Claire dropped her glass. The crowd flinched. No one reached to help her, and I just watched. Finally, they saw her the way I had for months. Calculated, not broken, and very, very exposed. 3 days after the brunch, I handed Claire a letter she couldn't ignore. It was delivered by courier, notarized and sealed, an official eviction notice stamped with the authority of the county court. 72 hours to vacate. No wiggle room. No room for guilt or begging. I was waiting at the kitchen table when the doorbell rang. Claire opened it with her usual dramatics, rolling her eyes like it was just another inconvenience. The second she saw the man in a blazer holding an envelope, her posture changed. She didn't even take it from him. He dropped it gently in her hands, turned, and left without a word. She stood there frozen in the entryway. "What is this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You'll want to read it," I said flatly. She did, and then she lost it. "You're actually kicking me out?" Her voice cracked. "You're really doing this to your own sister?" I stood slowly, calm as ever. "I'm not doing anything, Claire. I just stopping you from doing it to yourself." She looked around the house like she could appeal to the furniture, like the walls might back her up. "You're out of your mind," she hissed. That's when our father stepped in. He'd come over to mediate, which in his world meant sitting in my kitchen, nursing a beer, and waiting until he could pick a side that didn't cost him anything. But now, with Claire pacing in circles and tears threatening to spill, he stood up and finally raised his voice. "Damien, this is cruel. She's got 2 kids. She's family." I turned to him slowly. "Family?" I repeated. "You mean like when I paid your past due hospital bills? Or the back taxes you ignored until they nearly seized your pension? Or maybe when I cleaned up after Claire's first divorce while you were in Cancun with your new girlfriend?" He opened his mouth, closed it again. Claire slammed the letter on the table. "This isn't justice. It's vengeance." I tilted my head. "You tried to steal my house. I was desperate." "No," I said sharply. "You were entitled. And now you're evicted." She lunged for her wine glass, one of my better ones, and tried to make a point. But her hand shook, and it slipped, shattered on the hardwood like punctuation. The room went silent. Even the kids upstairs quieted down. Even my father backed away from the table. Claire stared at the broken glass like it might fix itself. Then I looked straight at him. "You know what's funny?" I said to my father. "I used to wonder how she ended up this way. So entitled, so careless. Then I remembered the loan you co-signed in my name back in '08. He flinched. I didn't say anything then. I just paid it, like I always do. His face turned pale. I stepped closer, quiet and cold. "Check your inbox." He didn't ask why. He already knew. Behind me, Claire dropped into a chair like a balloon that lost all its air. And no one, not a single person, defended her now. I walked out the front door, letting the silence speak for me. Eviction wasn't just legal. It was earned. By the next morning, the house was quiet. No cartoons blaring at 7 a.m. No trail of cereal crumbs across the kitchen tile. No third load of laundry running before breakfast. Just the kind of silence I hadn't realized I missed. Claire didn't knock on my door. Didn't send a text. Didn't try one of her dramatic apologies or guilt-soaked pleas. She knew better now. The clock was ticking. 72 hours. While she packed in silence upstairs, I moved through the house with quiet purpose. No anger. No pacing. Just orders in my head, one after another. Unlink Amazon account. Done. Change Wi-Fi password. Done. Cancel recurring Amazon Kids deliveries. Crayons, allergy-friendly snacks, pull-ups. Done. Deactivate the streaming profiles, Mommy Time, Lil Monsters, and Claire Yoga. Gone. The bank notified me that the temporary card tied to her phone wallet had been disabled. My password manager was wiped clean of anything I once shared with her. My Uber account? No more unauthorized late-night rides to emergency self-care. The smart fridge no longer recognized her fingerprints. I didn't leave a note. I didn't raise my voice. I just executed. That was what people never understood. I didn't get loud when I was angry. I got efficient. By the time day 2 rolled around, Claire's room looked like a hollowed-out Airbnb. Boxes stacked neatly, kids' clothes folded on top. The only sign of her presence left in the house was a lavender essential oil diffuser in the bathroom, still plugged in, still slowly misting into a room she no longer owned. That afternoon, I got the confirmation from the HOA. Claire had submitted her move-out notice, effective immediately. She hadn't said goodbye, just left. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel triumphant. I sat at my desk that evening with a cup of black coffee, watching the live feed from the front door camera. Claire's SUV was loaded to the brim. One of the kids was crying. The other looked bored, chewing on a tablet case. Claire was red-eyed and silent. In the passenger seat was our father, face set to stone. They were heading back to the duplex in town. The same one he once said he'd never live in again. The same one I paid to renovate years ago before he stopped answering my calls. Now it was their problem. They wanted to protect her. Now they could live with her. She drove off without looking back. And for the first time since Fallujah, I felt what I can only describe as space. Real space. Like air returning to a room that had been sealed too long. And I just breathed. It was almost a week later when I opened the garage to reorganize some gear inside, buried behind 2 unused tires and a fishing tackle box I hadn't touched in over a year. A footlocker. Olive drab. Military issue. I'd hauled the thing across 3 countries and 2 continents. Hadn't cracked it open since I came home for good. I don't know what made me open it that day. Maybe closure isn't a moment so much as a nudge. A quiet little push from somewhere deeper than logic. Inside were the usual things. A faded American flag in a plastic triangle. A crumpled ration pack. 2 letters from guys who didn't come back. And then there it was, tucked underneath a stack of old photographs, an envelope. Yellowed. Sealed. Labeled in my father's handwriting. Open when you're old enough to understand. I stood there for a long time holding it. Thought about burning it unopened. Thought about putting it back. But I opened it. The letter was 4 pages. Neat cursive. Careful words. It started with, I never wanted a son. That was the first sentence. No build-up. No sugarcoat. Just a gut punch written in black ink. He wrote about shame. About how having a son meant expectations I couldn't live up to as a man. About how he felt invisible, raising a boy who didn't need him. He wrote about his regrets and his resentment, and about me like I was a burden he carried more than a child he loved. There was no apology, just explanation. I read it 3 times, not because I needed clarity. Every word was clear. I just wanted to be sure I'd never forget how it felt. Then I gathered the rest. Photos of Claire in kindergarten that I kept for some reason. Receipts from therapy sessions I paid for but never got a thank you. A copy of the co-signed loan my father stuck me with. The fake property transfer document Claire printed and forgot to hide. I brought it all outside in a mixing bowl. Didn't even bother with a fire pit. Just a Bic lighter and a breeze. The first thing to go was the letter. I watched the edge curl and blacken until the words collapsed into ash. Then the photos. Then the lies. One by one, I fed it all to the flame. Not out of rage. Not to make a statement. Just to finish the damn job. When it was done, I stirred the ashes with a stick and scattered them in the yard. Let the wind carry them into the lake, or the dirt, or wherever useless things go. I didn't feel lighter. I didn't feel powerful. I just felt empty, clean. I went back inside, closed the garage, made dinner in silence. The walls didn't feel smaller anymore. And for the first time in a long time, no one called my name. There was no sound but the wind on the water. And I was finally, fully, alone. Which meant, at last, I was free.